Hey, what's up, everybody? Hope you're just joining us. I'm joined today with Stephanie Adwar, and she's here to talk to us about some really interesting things with the law, so intellectual property, copyright law, and really you have a lot of background in the entertainment industry. So really cool to hear about that, and I'm sure our audience will like to learn more as well. So Stephanie, welcome.
Thank you.
And introduce yourself personally.
Sure.
And tell us a little bit more about you, and then we'll get some other questions as well.
Okay, so I'm Stephanie Furgang Adwar, my very long name. I'm a partner in Furgang and Adwar in New York. We are an intellectual property and entertainment law boutique firm. We work with a number of attorneys who work counsel to our firm as well. We are a firm that concentrates in all forms of intellectual property, from patent, copyright, and trademark, both from a litigation perspective as well as from transactional. So we do all of the work for our clients from beginning to end, basically. We do the same with entertainment law. We handle a broad array of entertainment matters: film, television, book publishing, music, media. We also have a pretty active cannabis practice now these days, which comes up quite a bit in the IP world. So our practice is very holistic. We say we speak business. What we do is we look and see what the clients are doing so that we can address their needs. I came into the practice to work with my father, who was a world-renowned patent and trademark attorney, copyright attorney, for years before I went to law school. And then when I came out of law school, I came to work for my father. I worked for him for 7 years, and then he and I became partners 22 years ago, and we've been operating our practice ever since. He told me when I first came in that entertainment law is a very difficult practice, and he didn't think it was a good idea. I should just do IP. I wanted to build my practice. My undergraduate degree is in film from Tisch at NYU, and I really wanted to do entertainment law. That was really where my heart was. And he said, go ahead, do it. See how it goes. And for 10 years, he fed me with IP work. So I became really entrenched in intellectual property and the importance of it, and grew my entertainment practice. And that has had great benefit to my clients because I can look at their entertainment properties from a more broad-based intellectual property viewpoint.
Excellent. Well, I wouldn't be doing anyone justice if I didn't ask what are, I guess you don't have to by name, I guess, by clients, but as far as what are some of the coolest, I guess, types of clients you've worked with, and different things they may have been into and done?
I don't like generally to share my clients' names. I know some attorneys do, and they send them out, our reference clients that you can know. I'm pretty discreet about it, which is why I have the clients I have. But I can tell you in the general area what I've done. I've represented celebrities and personalities. I represented a cultural icon in the acquisition of her book rights. I represent artists, songwriters, recording artists, producers, films. I can say that I can actually say I've been production counsel for films like When Do We Eat? And there's a film called Into the Fire, which I worked on some time ago. And then I've done smaller work on films over the years, distribution deals and other things. I try not to do as much production counsel work because it tends to be, I do it, but I do it with other firms sometimes because it's a kind of a time suck. But I do handle my clients when they had complicated issues in film, and I handle all of their option agreements and all of their clearances and all of the things that are important that they really want special attention brought to.
Excellent. So when I want to launch my singing career, I'm going to give you a call.
Yeah. Yeah, things have changed quite a bit in the music industry since I started. When I started, there were tapes, and you went to see performers at bars, and you got their tapes, and the labels would sit around on Monday mornings and listen to all the tapes and figure out who they liked, and that doesn't happen. And we watched the progression of it over the years, where artists sold, they would have a certain number of views on MySpace. It started with, or how many CDs did they sell out of the back of their car. Now it's completely different, because now it's views on, how many streams, how many people have listened to your song, how many have viewed it on YouTube, and you want to see millions. And the labels want to see millions, because they want to see that you have earning power, because to launch an artist is extraordinarily costly. So they want backup, where before there was a lot more attention put into beginning baby bands, growth of the artist, and they didn't rely so much on the bands selling themselves, but more on the labels growing those careers. That's changed pretty significantly over the last 30 years.
Interesting. So basically, the marketability was important before, where, hey, we can take this and take it somewhere, where you're saying now it's more, we want you to have mildly be successful already with a following and an audience, and then we'll come in and take it from there.
That's what they prefer. I mean, you have to have some bona fides. You have to be able to prove to them that it's worth their chance. It used to be that there was no way to prove that, right? There was no internet. There was no way to prove following except for shows. How many people showed up at your show? Then you could know. Otherwise, you didn't, and you had to have somebody believe in you and believe that their ears heard what other people will hear. They used to call us lawyers with ears. That was the reference, or if you could hear it, you knew somebody that was going to do well. And I always considered myself that, having picked up on bands that came out, after I said, "Oh, that's a really good band." But
you had to have some different skills back in the day.
Right. You had to hear it. You had to sort of feel it and say, not only do I like this, but I think the masses are going to like this. I can tell you quickly, in 1982, I was in high school, and I went to see Squeeze at the Nassau Coliseum, and opening for Squeeze was REM and the English Beat. And we got there, and all my friends were high school friends, and they were all like, "Let's go get drunk." And it was a general admission thing. And I stood there and I said, "Yeah, the band. And there was a band that had just come on, and they said, "Oh, that's not the band." And I stopped for a second, and I was listening to it, and I said, "No, that's the band." And I went up to the front to see who this band was, and it was REM. And it was a huge show for them. They were literally opening for the English Beat, who was opening for Squeeze. And nobody knew, like, I talked about them all the time. Everybody was like, "Who's REM?" And until Losing My Religion, until they really blew up big, people thought I was crazy. Who's this band you're standing online for in the rain, to go see at the Felt Forum? Nobody could quite understand it. That is the kind of sort of gut feeling you had to have if you were going to be in the music business. Now, I'm presented with stuff all the time where I'll hear it and people will say, "Well, it's gotten, 2 million streams." And I'll listen to it and go, "Okay, would I have streamed it? Maybe not." But I do try to stay on top of all of the new music that's coming out, because, I have to know what that is. And quite frankly, it's my passion. So I want to know what that is.
Really cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, times have changed, and you got to change your ways sometimes. So that's really cool though. Yeah. REM's definitely, I still hear that song or their songs in movies and shows, and
for sure,
all the time. So, all right. So I guess, just an extra question. If I'm listening right on our podcast, or they're live right now, and I'm an artist, maybe it's a side thing, maybe it's a full-time thing, maybe I'm trying to go big. As far as when they would reach out to someone like yourself, do they reach out? Is this someone they say, "Hey, I need protection from what I'm doing here"? At what point is too late for them, or is that the case?
Okay, so there's never too late.
Okay.
If you need counsel, you get counsel, and I've had clients come in when things are sort of bollocked up and they need help to fix them, and that's what I do. I help to fix them. And then I have clients who come in when they're at the very start of what they're doing and they just want to plan. So I've worked with, when it comes to recording artists, I've worked with artists that are, just starting their very first demo, and or just writing their first few songs and want to protect them with copyright and those kinds of things. And then as we go along, those clients grow, or other clients come in with more formed careers. I represent touring artists who, until recently, until the after times, used to tour regularly, and that's how they sustain themselves. But they are growing careers, so they're not baby bands. They're a little more established than that. And you come to lawyers in the beginning if you have legal questions. How do I protect my copyright? How do I do song splits? What do I do when there are 2 or 3 or 4 of us writing a song? Sometimes now that you see songs with 10 people on it, how does that happen? How do I protect what I'm doing? What do I do? What kind of a deal can I make with that manager? How much should the manager be taking? Should I have a business manager? Should I be playing in particular types of venues? Should I be turning down to other types of opportunities? Those are all the questions that young artists come in with, or beginning artists come in with. And then the artists that are more established sometimes come in with questions about where are they, what are they doing with the work that they have? Is there a way to get it to sell it to a publishing company that might do a co-publishing deal or a publishing deal with them and give them money for it as an advance against the earnings of particular songs? And we'll talk to them about using those songs in advertising and brand, combined with brands. I do a lot of brand work because of my IP background and because of the trademark work I do. I tend to see my clients' careers very holistically, that you're not just a singer or songwriter, that maybe you're also, most of them are not actors, but maybe you're also a writer. Maybe you also have songs that would lend themselves to particular products that would launch those products. Maybe you have other skills and other talents that you want to explore in addition to your songwriting, and you don't want to get pigeonholed. These are all questions you ask of your clients so that you can get a better idea of who they are, and then you educate them. The thing that I do best for my clients is I make sure they know stuff so that they can protect themselves. I had a singer-songwriter client, well-established singer-songwriter client, came to me because her attorney said to her, she asked copyright questions, and the attorney said, well, go to copyright.gov and read it. And then if you have any questions, come back to me. He was too busy. And believe me, I'm busy, but I'm not too busy for my clients. So when she called me and she asked me that question and she told me what happened, I said, let's be clear. I'm the lawyer. If you have copyright questions, you come to me. If I have songwriting questions or singer-songwriter questions, I'm going to come to you. We're going to each educate each other. And now let me tell you what the answers to your questions are so that you can do what you have to do, because they need to know that information. I find when lawyers say, I'll take care of it, and take everything off their plate so they don't have to think about what it is they're doing, it doesn't do them any benefit. When they go forward to grow their careers, they don't know that stuff. They don't understand how it impacts their careers. Some artists really don't want to know. They want it, you handle it. I don't really want to, that's not my thing. But I do make sure that they know as much as they could possibly know, because I want to make sure that they don't get themselves in trouble. I'm not going to always be around for them necessarily. Maybe they'll, be someplace where they can't get in touch with me, or they'll be working on a project and won't have time to call. And they need to be able to access that information in their own heads to know what they're doing. I
love that. That's really good. So I feel like, we try to do the same thing with our clients is, we do the marketing and the advertising, but what does this mean? What do these numbers mean? What do the metrics mean? So they can make informed decisions.
Of course.
So that's really good. So that kind of lends to my next question was, what sets you apart from your competitors? So other lawyers in your field that specialize in this. So some of what you just said, I would assume that's part of what sets you apart. But is there anything? Well,
yes.
Yeah.
Educating my clients are definitely a part of it. But what also sets us apart is that we're really good lawyers. Like, this isn't a game. We really know the law. We educate ourselves. We stay up to date on all of this stuff. We make sure that we know as many people as we can within our industry so that we know who to go to for information if we need that information. That's a very important part of what we do, is being able to access information. I always tell my clients, if somebody asks me a question and I don't know the answer to it, I'm going to tell you I don't know the answer to it. I'm not going to lie and make something up. I'm going to say, I don't know the answer, but I know how to find it. And I will find it. And I will get back whatever that answer is so that I can properly advise my client. I don't pretend to know things I don't know. I don't think that helps anybody. It certainly doesn't help my clients. So, we deal with a lot of startups too. So startups have very particular needs when they're beginning their work. They need their IP protected from the very start, right? They need any copyrights they have in any designs or any writings, they need protected. Then they need their trademarks protected, most certainly, because the lifeblood of your business is being able to identify it to the public. And the consumer needs to be able to see that trademark and say, oh, that's so-and-so's company. So we need to do that for them so that they have it secured. And then we need to make sure that their patents are, if there are any, are also protected, because that is also the lifeblood of that particular business. Some don't have patents. Some just have great ideas, and they want to sell those ideas to the world. But the other part that I see with the startups is, even if the startup has nothing to do with entertainment law at all, and we do a lot of that. We have discrete IP clients that don't have entertainment needs, but a lot of time entertainment needs come up. Why? Because they're advertising something and they need music. Because music is integrated into the product they're selling. Because they want to use celebrity photographs, or they want to use some artist photographs. Anytime there's crossover, startups don't necessarily notice that that's a thing that they need. I was at CES a year and a half ago, or almost 2 years ago now. And I talked to a lot of they have their downstairs areas where all their startups are, and their incubator place. And so I went down there to start talking to some of the people who have these new products, and uniformly, the ones with music, because those were the ones I was sort of looking for. I wanted to see the ones that were integrating entertainment product into their new businesses. And uniformly, they had no idea what they were supposed to be protecting. They didn't know that they were supposed to be licensing music. I mean, even Peloton, I don't think at the very beginning knew that they had to license music. I think that's what they're dealing with now. That there's not because the business is changing so much, because music now streams, because of the Music Modernization Act and the Copyright Office, which has now passed. These things are going to change licensing, payment, information that inventors and entrepreneurs are going to need in the furtherance of their business, whether from the product that they're selling to the advertising that they're doing for that product or service.
Yeah. Huh. So you're thinking, well, I can stream it on Spotify or Pandora, that I can just use it on anything I want.
Right. Well, listen, we know that if you stream on Spotify, that stream is counted, and that eventually that artist should get paid. It takes billions of streams to make any significant income on Spotify, but that's how it works. That's how it works for Tidal and iTunes and all the rest of them. So that's how it works. But when those streams are taken by a company onto a different platform, that is not licensed. That is not permissible. That is not how it works. So all of these companies that are now integrating music into their exercise product, right? Into their dolls and their toys, they have to understand that there's a license process that they have to follow in order to make sure that they're getting the rights to these things so that they don't get sued or shut down. Either way. So you want to make sure that that's all, all taken care of as well, so that everything should be locked up for a company. A company starting out, especially a company who's getting financing from outside, should most certainly know that they can assure their investors that all of their IP is theirs, is protected, and won't be taken or called on from somebody else. Nobody else will make claim to it. And that's very, very important.
Well, it's really good advice there. So anyone listening, you got music going into your products, or for advertising, whatever, pictures, whatever, make sure
Yep. Any
you're not
kind of
going to be in
artwork,
trouble.
any kind of artwork. And you want endorsements from actors or sports figures. Those, you get endorsement deals. You want sponsorship by a company of your product, you can make that happen as well. But all of the underlying rights have to be locked up, or you risk losing your business. A lot of money goes into these businesses. You want to make sure that they're as protected as possible.
Yeah, especially if you're coming out of the gate, not knowing what you're doing, and then boom, you're shut
Right.
down.
Started
a lot
something
of people
with that.
take a lot of all their money, or sometimes friends and family's money, or whatever, to try to get their thing off the ground. So you can't really afford to be shut down.
No, and the part of the problem is that people don't want to use lawyers. We are costly. There is no question that we are a part of the cost of doing business, and we are a substantial part of the cost of doing business. But if you have a legal problem, we're a really, really small part of that those legal expenses. If you get the stuff set up beforehand, you're being, the old saying, it's not smart to be penny wise and pound foolish. You want to make sure you lock this stuff up, because it will cost you way, way, way more if you botch it up. If you don't have that protection and you get sued, or if you don't have that protection and you think somebody else is ripping you off, then you have to go back and reprocess it. The time it takes, the losses that you could have are substantial. You don't want to do that. You want to make sure that this is all protected as much as possible. So that
good advice. Very good advice. So and I think the more successful you get, the bigger your target
yes
comes. So it might not affect you now, but later on when you're doing good,
and there are so many things, right? There are so many places where you could get hit. So you want to make sure that somebody's overseeing that for you. I've had, in the last month, I've had probably 4 contracts have come into me that were drafted by business people on their own for deals together. And those drafts, those agreements were atrocious. They did not cover the clients. It didn't do for either party what they thought what was being done. I had to come in and very tenuously negotiate, because I was negotiating against lay people, because they didn't want to hire counsel, which, by the way, makes everything harder. If I can go into a room with a lawyer and say, this isn't what we're supposed to be doing, and I should have these rights, and they go, yeah, fine, and you go, boom, done. When you start trying to explain it to a layperson, you actually have to explain it so that they understand what it is you are trying to change and why it is you are not trying to rip them off, or your client is not trying to rip them off. And quite frankly, my interest is not in that. My interest is in my client. I just want the deal to be the right deal and the deal that they agreed to.
I love that.
I've also had, in that same period when I've had those negotiations with those lay people, 2 of them in the last month have called me to represent them in other deals.
There you go. Yeah.
So
do the right thing, back your client, and good things will happen for sure. So, all right, last question before we wrap it up, is, for you and your firm and over the years, is there any kind of marketing strategy, whatever it may be, that how you have gotten your customers and your clients, and what's worked well for you guys?
Most of our clients come from referrals, from attorneys that practice outside of our area of expertise, and a lot of attorneys within our areas of expertise. I have a lot of litigation referral comes to me from transactional attorneys. A lot of attorneys are just strictly transactional or strictly litigation. Because we have this broad-based practice, they will refer litigation matters to me. I also have a very strict rule, which is that if a transactional attorney refers a litigation matter to me, I send the client back to them when I'm done with it. And I've had clients who have said, I really like the way you work. I really would like to stay with you and be your client. And I say no, because that's not how I practice, and that's not the reputation that I want with other attorneys. I think, from what I've been told, I have an excellent reputation for being honest and ethical and fair. I also sit as a judge in a associate judgeship in where I live. And it's a very, very part-time position, but it's something I do. And it's important to me to be ethical and to be forthright with my clients and with the people that I'm representing and with my colleagues. And because of that, I have a really nice, broad group of attorneys that refer. I also get referrals from other clients whose matters have been completed. And I do a tremendous amount of writing and appearances on panel discussions and networking events. I go to a lot of conferences. I want to update my education no matter what. So while I'm there, I make sure I'm meeting everyone I possibly can. And no one is too small and no one is too big. So I make sure that I talk to law school students, because they're going to be lawyers students too. And they're going to be lawyers that are going to want, I might come in contact with, I might have to negotiate with. So I want to know who they are. And I want to know who the attorneys who are doing bigger work than I am. I mean, I'm a smaller firm. Sometimes it's nice to know who's out there doing work for the major firms, the 500 person firms and so on. So I make sure I know all of those persons, and people are people. You talk to them, you find out what they're doing and what they're interested in, and you make sure that you learn as much as you can about them, because inevitably all of our work that we do together, we're not alone in the world. And we need to be able to rely on other people to get information and to get understanding and to be able to make good deals and not have to end up in litigation. I try to keep my clients out of litigation as much as possible.
That's awesome. I love it. Yeah, I agree with you. And a lot of my business has been growing the same way. Just out talking to people, referrals. Even though we're in marketing and advertising, majority of our business comes from meeting people, talking to people.
And happy customers.
Yes, exactly. All right. Well, I thank you so much for being on.
It was my pleasure.
Everyone for joining us. I know we have a few people watching right now. And look for Stephanie soon on our podcast. We'll be releasing that here in the next couple of weeks. And we'll be sharing more stuff from this clip with her. And so if you need to reach out to Stephanie, what's the best way for them to contact you?
They can email me at stephanie@furgang.com, FURGANG.com. You can look up Furgang and Adwar. That's it's furgang.com is the website. So you can take a look at our website and see what it is that we do. You can get me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Twitter.
She's everywhere.
I'm all over the place.
Excellent. All right. Well, please reach out if you have any questions specifically about if you're in the entertainment business, an IP, copyright. Please reach out to her. And
startups, entrepreneurs, anybody who needs counsel in intellectual property issues, please, we're happy to help.
Excellent. Well, I'll talk to you soon, and everyone, have a great day.